Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Ann Emanuel. Former President Trump is facing another legal battle, this time for alleged mishandling of classified documents. This is an extraordinary move by the Justice Department, but the 2024 GOP frontrunner is vowing to fight. Caroline Shively has more from Washington.
I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
For the first time in history, a former president is facing federal criminal charges. President Trump is expected to be charged with 7 crimes stemming from classified documents found during an FBI raid at his Florida home last August. Trump himself broke the news on his Truth Social platform. Although the indictment remains sealed, Trump is reportedly charged with violating the Espionage Act, obstruction of justice, destruction or falsification of records, and more. Charges, the 2024 GOP frontrunner says, are an effort to keep him from another term in the White House.
They figure the way they're going to stop us is by using what's called warfare. And that's what it is. This is warfare for the law. And we can't let it happen.
Special counsel Jack Smith has been investigating after Trump and his team refused to turn over those classified documents for months. But a lawyer who worked with the former president says that doesn't warrant criminal charges.
So the idea that you can be doing armed raids and even criminal grand jury subpoenas is ludicrous, much less getting to the point where we are now of crossing the Rubicon and criminalizing and charging, indicting a president and a presidential contender.
Legal experts say the pressure is on prosecutors in such a high-profile case.
The key here is not the underlying crimes. Those are well-established crimes. The question is going to be what evidence they have and whether they can establish intent.
The former president is expected in federal court in Miami on Tuesday. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Air quality conditions are slowly improving across the eastern U.S., but pollutants still threaten to impact vulnerable Americans. Nicole Valdez has more.
People across the eastern U.S. waking up to clearer skies on Friday. Smoke from Canadian wildfires finally moving on after smothering cities throughout the region.
I feel like it doesn't smell bad out here anymore.
But those conditions are still resulting in moderate to unhealthy air quality alerts for people in the Northeast and the Midwest. Health experts warn harmful pollutants could still pose a threat in the coming days.
The fine particulates can go deep into our lungs. And that is much more problematic in terms of potential inflammation, damage to our lungs.
The continued risk forcing schools in New York City and Philadelphia to go virtual on Friday. Local officials are still encouraging people to stay inside when possible.
For those that have like asthma or COPD or what they call reactive airway, where they have a tendency to wheeze under even good conditions.
Further north, Canadian officials are finally seeing some relief as smoke from wildfires is reduced. The Biden administration deploying federal resources to the country, while New York State plans to send forest rangers to assist Canadian fire crews. Forecasters, though, warn dry conditions threaten to spark more flames in the coming weeks.
We'll continue to see kind of this drier and, a little bit unseasonably warm kind of conditions in central and even kind of spreading into eastern Canada.
Here in the U.S., forecasters say winds could keep that smoke closer to the ground until it finally dissipates. In Washington, D.C., I'm Nicole Valdez, Fox Weather.
A massive barn fire in Steuben County led to several crews battling that fire. The Bath Volunteer Fire Department says it was one of those dispatched to the barn, which was located on Turnpike Road. It happened after 1 p.m. on Wednesday. When they got there, the barn was completely on fire and additional services from more than 5 other fire departments requested. According to investigators, a wire shortage in an electrical fence is believed to have caused that fire. No humans or animals were injured in the fire. The first 24 hours of Ukraine's counteroffensive against Russia is complete, and the action continues on many fronts. Greg Palcott has more from Kyiv, Ukraine.
Intense fighting is now underway in eastern and southern Ukraine as the first 24 hours of the long-awaited counteroffensive draws to a close. The action right now is mainly centered on 2 areas, Donetsk to the east and Zaporizhia, further south. Western armor and weapons, including American Bradley fighting vehicles and German Leopard tanks, are now in the battle as Ukrainian forces try to cut through the Russian lines of control.
This is the toughest form of high conventional warfare. It's called combined arms warfare, and what the Ukrainians are figuring out, where's the best place to make a penetration.
Specifics on the fighting are hard to come by. Officials here aren't talking about their tactics, but the Ukrainians are said to be making slow, steady progress in some areas, including north of Bakhmut, which was captured by Russia after the longest battle of the war. President Biden doubling down on his support for Ukraine.
Fact of the matter is that I believe we'll have the funding necessary to support Ukraine as long as it takes.
Meanwhile, evacuation efforts continue in flooded areas after a major dam was destroyed. Ukraine says Russia is now shelling rescuers and evacuees, another violation of international law.
This is absolutely deliberate. They are even shelling evacuation points, which is a manifestation of evil that perhaps no terrorists in the world except the Russians have ever done.
Ukrainian officials Friday claimed they have intercepted a telephone call which proves that Russia blew up the dam. In Kyiv, Greg Falcon, Fox News.
An FDA advisory panel has approved a vaccine to protect infants from RSV. The committee voted Thursday to approve the use of the experimental antibody shot to help prevent RSV infections in babies. The shot has been recommended as an injectable drug that can protect infants up to 2 years old from the potentially deadly virus. If the therapy is approved, the FDA said it would continue to monitor the treatment for safety using several data sources. One day after being extradited to the U.S., Joran van der Sloot entered a plea in federal court. It comes 20 years after 18-year-old Natalie Holloways disappeared. Jonathan Seri has more.
The main suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Natalie Holloways making his first appearance in an Alabama courtroom on Friday. Joran van der Sloot pleaded not guilty to federal extortion and wire fraud charges for alleged financial crimes against the Holloways family.
We're way overdue, and whatever happens in this, he's 18 years this is going on.
Natalie's family was in the courtroom on Friday. The 18-year-old Alabama woman was last seen coming out of an Aruba bar with van der Sloot in 2005 during a high school senior trip. A 2010 federal indictment accuses him of extorting Beth Holloways, Natalie's mother, seeking $250,000 in exchange for promising to lead her to her daughter's body. Van der Sloot allegedly lied to the family's attorney about the location after deposits of $25,000 were made. The now 35-year-old was extradited to the U.S. on Thursday from Peru. He's currently serving a 28-year sentence there for the murder of a Peruvian woman.
How did he get out of Aruba after he was wiretapped by the feds and they knew it was an extortion charges? That's what no one understands. They let him go.
While van der Sloot has never been charged in Natalie's death, representatives for the Holloways family say they hope his trial in the U.S. brings closure.
As close as we can obtain closure in a matter like this, tragic outcome, but just to have him serve at maximum.
Van der Sloot faces up to 50 years in prison if convicted of extortion and wire fraud. In Birmingham, Alabama, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Still ahead, your weekend forecast. Plus,
stubborn smoke still lingering across much of the country, but do you know what you're actually breathing in? I'm Marianne Rafferty. That and much more coming up.
Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, as we worked out the haze, we worked in the rainfall. Now, it has been fairly sporadic, but still bringing with it some rumbles of thunder in some areas of some brief downpours. And we'll see that threat is starting to work its way out through the overnight. We'll lose the daytime heating that was popping up some of those showers. However, really, it didn't feel like much for heating in a sense, as we were definitely under a brisk northwesterly wind that is going to start to turn a bit as we're going to get more of a southwesterly wind that will bring us some improvements as we head into the weekend. But note that we aren't going to get those bright blue skies. We'll see it maybe at times. However, there is still some haze that we're seeing, as well as knowing that Sunday is going to be a cloudier day. And we'll at least mention that we're going to have some shower chances into the afternoon hours, both on Saturday and Sunday, equating to little to nothing. But we'll at least mention that if you have some outdoor plans this weekend, One, the haze is still around again, so sensitive groups may want to limit your outdoor time, especially strenuous activity. And then two, keep your ear open. If you hear some thunder roar, head indoor. These storms should be moving pretty quickly and should be dissipating pretty quickly as well. So just keep yourself wary of that threat. And then we will be keeping an eye on Monday's forecast, as that's going to bring us some windy and wet conditions, but it is very much needed wet conditions, as we could get a good soaking from some of these rain showers, which we need it. We have those drought conditions expanding, and shutting that down earlier than later is always good news. Now, first rolling into the forecast, we do see that as we head into our Saturday, there's some signal to bring in some sunshine, so some good news there. But then you have that afternoon availability, maybe a few showers and thunderstorms, especially just off to the east of Elmira and Corning. So again, keep your ear open for a rumble of thunder, and then that should pass on by quickly. And then by Sunday, we will turn to some cloudier skies. However, the skies definitely won't look blue even under some clear potential, as when we look at the smoke analysis all the way through about Sunday mid-morning, even about early afternoon, what we're seeing is that those fires are still flaring off towards the north and emitting smoke into the air. But you can see the push of that back into the Atlantic waters as we have that more southerly wind that's going to start to push that out. But still, you're signaling that there's at least some of that variability of reflectivity across the state, so some of that haze is still going to be lingering. Again, not as much at the surface, but still, again, sensitive groups try to limit that outdoor time here over the next few days as we start to work out those particles, especially once rain showers can really work in on Monday. But when we look at our Saturday potential, what we'll see is that that southerly push is going to help temperatures out. Sunshine will help out too, even with that haze. So we are looking back up into those mid to even upper 70s. Again, as mentioned, more off towards the east of Elmira Corning, will we see maybe a few of those showers and thunderstorms fire up into the afternoon. No severe risk there. Again, just that thunder threat can always carry that lightning threat, which is always a dangerous variable. Into Sunday will be a little cloudier, but we're still going to have that warming bringing us into the 80s. And then Monday is going to be that wet forecast that we'll watch for, that will linger us under some scattered showers, but we do at least keep temperatures fairly mild as we'll dry out by the end of the week.